널 절절세 억은연한 Please join me in Gassho. Maddened beyond control by blind passions, we do things we should not, and say things we should not, and think things we should not. But if a person is deceitful in his relations with others, doing what he should not and saying what he should not, because he thinks it will not hinder his birth, then it is not an instance of being maddened by passion. Since he purposely does these things, they are simply misdeeds that should never have been done. Good morning, and thank you all for tuning in to listen to my second ever YouTube service for the Tacoma Buddhist Temple. I must admit that it is quite odd for me to still be talking to a camera as opposed to all of you in person. As Cindy and I settle in, we are starting to learn the freeways, off-ramps, and the neighborhood around our temple. We also would like to thank once again to the many members of the Tacoma Buddhist Temple for all of their support towards us during this time of pandemic and isolation. The Gosanda I quoted today, or this morning, was from Shinran Shonin's letters to his followers. This is the 16th letter in a collection that has been named the Matosho, or Lamp for Latter Ages. I sometimes wonder why these letters are not talked about all that much in terms of Dharma messages, because I think that these letters give our members of today an idea of how Shinran ministered to many of his congregants during his time. This letter happens to be my favorite. It might sound a bit preachy on Shinran's part, but he was actually speaking to a problem that the Pure Land sect was facing. The problem of Zo-aku muge. Again, that's Zo-aku muge, or licensed evil. I am certain that this was not the only time in history that Pure Land followers have done this or have suffered from this problem. For those of you who do not know the concept of licensed evil, it is the false understanding that one can do as one pleases or even should commit acts of evil to prove one's devotion to Amida Buddha. Let me give some context. One of the reasons why our school was so popular and still is to this day is because of its easy practice. I put that in quotation marks because what is our main practice? It is just saying the Nembutsu. Even more so, this practice is not our practice. We are merely echoing and showing our gratitude to Amida Buddha for passing through 10 kalpas, which means a really long time, to attain enlightenment and to create a Pure Land for all of us to be born in. Taking refuge in Amida Buddha is all that we do. Saying the Nembutsu is all that we do. Yes, we do many rituals. We sing gathas. We chant sutras. We give oshoko. We have dharma talks. And we have obon and bazaars. However, all of these are not a practice for us to attain enlightenment. We are taken care of by Amida Buddha and therefore have no need for self-power practices. What a great deal, right? So with this kind of thinking in mind, many people of the Pure Land path begin to commit acts of evil like robbing or causing harm in various ways. They did all of this with the notion that they are protected under the care of Amida Buddha, and so therefore what they are doing is okay. This, I'm talking, of course, is in context of the time of Shinran Shonin, although, again, like I said, this probably wasn't the only time in history that evil acts have been committed in the name of Amida Buddha. And again, some even went as far as to say performing acts of evil and harm is something that proves your devotion to Amida Buddha. Shinran saw this problem and actively spoke against this. In his letter, he continued to say, "It is deplorable that you have told people to abandon themselves to their heart's desires and to do anything they want. One must seek to cast off the evil of this world and to cease doing wretched deeds. This is what it means to reject the world and to live in the Nembutsu. When people who may have said the Nembutsu for many years abuse others in word or deed, there is no indication of rejecting this world. Thus, Shandao teaches in the passage on sincere mind that we should be careful and to keep our distance from those people who are given to evil." Okay, so that's the end of the quote. So we can plainly see that Shinran was strongly opposed to this notion of licensed evil. And I think that this is something that we should continuously talk about even to this day. I do not mean to stand on this podium as if I would be on a soapbox on a street corner and preach to you all how you should behave or how you shouldn't behave. However, in this world that we live in now, in this era that we live in today, do we really consider how the teachings of Shinran and our other ministers or even our friends affect our lives? We still get so caught up into ourselves and are so distracted by our own wants and desires that we can too easily fall into the same trap that the same members fell into centuries ago. This is not to say that I think that we all commit acts of evil in the sense that we do deplorable things like that we should go to jail for. Like we don't murder necessarily, or we don't actively go to the bank and rob it. But I think apathy and self-centeredness falls into this category as well. The same thing goes with hedonism. I'm Jodo Shinchu, so I'm allowed to drink as much as I want. I am Jodo Shinchu, so I'm allowed to be a jerk. I am Jodo Shinchu. We have no practice, therefore I am allowed to get angry in traffic. I mentioned this last week, by the way. I am Jodo Shinchu, therefore I am allowed to eat meat. So I'm not saying that we are not allowed to do these things or that, oh, you're a bad person for doing said things. However, I am also saying that we should not use this as an excuse either. We should never or try not to use our religion and the school of Buddhism we belong to as an excuse to commit horrible acts, or to be apathetic, or to not try. Our school teaches us that Amida accepts us for who we are, and this is true. We do not have to donate all of our money to charitable organizations. We don't have to be these saints in order to buy passage into the Pure Land. However, that doesn't mean we go to the extreme opposite way either. We don't revel in our evil either. And as a close friend from IBS once said to me, your shortcomings and your flaws are not a badge of honor that you wave around towards people. Concluding this Dharma talk, I do not make accusations against anyone or any person in this Sangha for being this way. If anything, I make these accusations and observations towards myself. Many of my friends at IBS will tell you just how difficult I was in a class, or how difficult I was to deal with, because I would always get mad or upset if I heard something that I deemed heterodox. For those of you who are friends with me on Facebook, you have probably seen some preachy, overzealous, self-righteous posts of mine. And these are not things that I should be proud of, and are definitely aspects that show that I too engage in bad behavior and must again check myself and self-reflect. Just because I am a minister does not mean that I am infallible in ethics. I'm not saying this, of course, to excuse my bad behavior, but to also acknowledge that I myself am no different than the average person who has kleshas or bono or imperfections toward my character. So with all this in mind, I thank you all for continuing to accept me as your minister. Though this is my only second Dharma talk, so hopefully I haven't turned any of you away from me. But let us all work together to continue to get to know each other, listen to the teachings of Shinran, and once again say the Nembutsu in gratitude. Thank you all so much for listening to me and joining me. And let's do our best to try. And again, conduct ourselves and really listen, deeply listen to Shinran Shonin's teachings. And really reflect on what it means to be embraced by the wisdom and compassion of Amida Buddha. Thank you all very much. To conclude this service, I would like to read one of Rennyo Shonin's Gobunsho called Matsudai Muchisho, or the chapter for beings of the latter age of the Dharma. In this final age of extreme uncertainty, all unenlightened men and women who single-mindedly and devotedly rely on Amida's 18th vow, no matter how heavy the weight of their evil karma may be, will be assured of deliverance through Amida Buddha. This is the meaning of the 18th vow, which assures spiritual rebirth through the Nembutsu. Once we are convinced of this firmly, we should continuously recite Namo Amida Butsu for the rest of our lives. With reverence, I remain. Now I would like to read the Gobunsho in Japanese. Mandai muchi no zaike shiju no nanyo taran tomo nara wa kokoro o hitotsu ni shite Amida Butto fukaku tanomi maerasete sarani yo no kata e kokoro o furazu 一心一根にぶっ助けたまえともさん主情はたとえ在後は人順なりとも必ず皆如来は救いましますべしこれすなわち第18の念仏往生の誓願の心なり悪のごとく献上しての上には寝ても覚めても命のあらん限り